All right, so I have this question here from a listener of the podcast, and he sent this question. It's been a couple of weeks now. I just want this opportunity to kind of explain or make people understand how I answer questions. So some people might be of the mind that, oh, I sent Tola a question 2 weeks ago, 1 month ago, and he hasn't answered it. And what I want to say is, I do not answer questions on a first come first served basis. No, I answer questions based on the amount of clarity I have been given at that time concerning that question. So there's some questions that have been sent to me, and to be honest, I haven't received any clarity on those questions. So I don't answer questions just because I have them lying around. I answer questions because I have some clarity, some insight, some discernment into them. So what I'm trying to say is that if you've sent me a question in the past and I haven't answered, please do not get discouraged or think I'm ignoring your questions. To be honest with you, there are some questions I just won't answer just because I don't have any clarity towards it. And please don't take offense. There's some questions I will get today and I'll answer them today because I have immediate clarity with these things. But I'm not positioning myself as somebody who you can send questions to immediately and I would answer the question based on a reservoir of knowledge I have or understanding I have towards those things. Sometimes these things come with time. They're like inspiration, divine inspiration. So please, I want anybody that send me a question to just bear with me and to know that I don't forget questions, to be honest with you. And I answer questions based on a spiritual leading, clarity, and divine inspiration. So I have this question. It's a pretty good question. And it says, I have a handful of questions from previous episodes of the podcast, but I've failed to ask. Today, I just finished listening to Becoming Old and Lazy, and I need to ask this question before procrastinating again. My question is, I'm currently building an advertising and media agency. My strategy in building this dream is through content creation, and I am currently a video editor and I'm still learning how to even use the digital camera. For lack of better words, I'll say I started quite late because I am in my early 30s. Um, Maybe if I had gotten some support, I could have started a long time ago. For people like us that didn't have the opportunity to learn the required skill to start their career early enough to be the best at our 20s and in our 30s, what should we do? What more can one be doing with their life if they haven't found fulfillment or personal success yet? All right, so this is a good question. This person is saying he's in his early 30s and he kind of he has found a path he wants to go where he is currently building an advertising and media agency. But in building it, he's beginning to learn the core basic skills like handling a camera and learning all those, the digital technical things like video editing and things like that. So he sees himself learning apps, software, trying to maneuver equipment and things like that. So he feels he's in his early 30s, starting out this media agency, learning the basics of it. And he's saying, what do you do if you're somebody who is in their 30s, 40s, found what you want to do, and you have to start from the beginning, from the scratch, learning the basic things, but you didn't have enough support. Maybe you had clarity on what to do, but you just felt you didn't have the financial support to go into it. What do you do when you now begin to have some finances, but then you have lost some years? Now, in answering this question, first of all, I want to congratulate you for finding what it is you feel called to do, an expression that you feel an attachment to, some passion for, I'm thinking you do feel some passion for it, to go into this advertising and media agency. Um, you're in your early 30s. And I think to answer this question well enough, I need to um, talk about what it means to be at the prime of your life. A lot of times we use this term, prime of your life. So when people say, I'm at the prime of my life, I want to kind of delve into that briefly. Maybe not briefly, maybe that will form the core basis of answering this question. You see, that prime of your life is not a particular stage in your life. There is no one prime in anybody's life. As a matter of fact, you have at least three primes in your life, three main primes in the human life. Three main primes. So when someone says, I'm at the prime of my life, you must question what prime they are talking about. There is no one prime in a person's life. There are at least three that I know of, and there could be more as I continue to experience life. But there are three primes, three core primes. There is the prime of your physical essence, the prime, and I'll call it the prime of your physical strength. Your physical strength or physical essence or physical appeal. There's that prime in everybody's life. The prime of your physical essence, your physical appeal, your physical strength, your energy, physical energy. And this is normally between 20 and 30. So between when you turn 20 and it ends when you turn 30. Now, this might not be absolute figures, but they cannot be over 2 years either above or below. So when I say 20, you could think as early as 18. When I say 30, you could think as late as 33. You understand? So give or take 3 years added or taken from this age bracket I'll be given. You are at your physical peak in terms of your physical appeal, your physical development, your strength, the way you can assert your physical nature when you are between your 20s and your 30s. There is hardly anybody stronger than a 20 or a 30-year-old man. And there's hardly anybody more beautiful than a woman that is in her 20s or her 30s. Very important for us to note that this physical appeal is a very important stage in our lives. This physical strength, physical essence, 20, 30s. Between your 20s and your 30s, you experience the best of your strength, the best of your attractiveness, the best of your body. That's the truth. There's this thing that trend on social media where they show maybe somebody who has passed on at a very old age, and they have this trend of saying, I was 100, then I was 50, then I was. So we go through pictures. I remember there was one of the Queen's mother where they did, and the woman died 100 and something, and they took us back to when she was like 15. And I was watching it, and myself and my wife, we were watching it, and my wife was like, wow, look at how she looked when she was 24. And to be honest with you, she was at the height of her physical attraction at 24. There was a difference between when she was 24 and when she was 40. Different, obvious difference. And the same thing with a man. Physical attraction, 20s to 30s. Physical strength, 20s to 30s. It's very important that we know this, because a lot of people waste this period. It is a gift. This is what they call the gift of youth. It's a time for you to go out and be adventurous with things. It's time for you to be daring. It's time for you to try. It is not a time for a rugged commitment to something, especially when it comes to an expression of life that might be a career. It is not a time. A lot of people get too ruggedly attached to things in their 20s and their 30s. I don't think so. You might begin to get more attached as you approach your 30s, but in your 20s, try out things that pique your interest. Very important that you're able to try out. Now, when it comes to trying out, I want to address the young men here. A lot of men try out ladies, and I do not mean this because this is also a waste of your energy. You don't try out ladies sexually, but in your interaction, interact with as many women as you can. Have curious interaction with them. Even with women too, the same thing. Allow yourself to interact on a platonic level. Rugged commitment to one guy in your early 20s. A lot of people go into such relationships. There are some cultures that encourage it. A woman right out of secondary school already has a committed husband she's going to get married to. It can be very dangerous because then there's pent-up energy. And I do not mean sexual energy. I just mean a pent-up energy to want to interact with more people. You understand? To understand personalities and characters. I think it's very important for someone at the peak of their physicality to socialize. Both interpersonal socialization and socialize with course of studies in life. It's not a time to say, I am a medical student. I'm not interested in sports. I am a law student. What do I need to know about farming? It's time for you to just put everything in there. You have the energy. You have the energy. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Put that energy to work. Put it to work. Have the sense of adventure. Start a company. Start two if you can. It's not a time to commit to something yet. It's not. Especially when it comes to career. One of the biggest issues I have with this question, one of those things that caught my attention was this person should have been learning how to use a camera in their early 20s. You should have learned it. Learned how to use a camera. Learn how to use different software. Not because you want to become that thing, but because it's available. Learn. Pick it up. Learn. Devote some time to it. You have the energy to do it. You're at the prime of your physicality. Learn. Very important. If you come to my house, you see a lot of photos that I've taken. I have an album of photos I've taken, wildlife photos. Photos of lizards, photos of tortoises, photos of butterflies, photos of birds, different photos of insects. I have them all. When I was taking them, people were thinking, do you want to be a photographer? Are you trying to be a wildlife? I wasn't trying to be anything. There was just the energy to do it. And I had a camera. And this is why I want to talk about equipment. A lot of us wait for the ideal situation. And I want to have you know that in your 20s, things are hardly ideal. Your finances will not be ideal. And they should not be. Because when they are ideal, there's no adventure. So I feel for people in their 20s and 30s and they have ideal finances, in quote, multi-millionaires in their 20s and early 30s, it can be a disadvantage. Because things are ideal, there's no sense of adventure anymore. You just venture. But there must be adversity in that venture. So when everything's ideal, there's no adversity that allows you to exert strength. So never wait for ideal. When I started taking photos, I wasn't using a DSLR camera. It was by no means a DSLR camera. Some of the best photos I've ever taken. I'm a good photographer. Some people don't know that about me. I'm an excellent photographer. I was taken with a very poor camera. It wasn't a good camera. The pixels was not good. But my desire to take it was strong. The desire, I had energy to take as many exposures as possible till I got the best one. I didn't get tired. There's a photo of a fly I have. My kids are always saying, how would I take it? I said I took so many shots. Almost 100 shots. Because I had the energy to stand and take those shots. I remember going out that weekend. It was a Saturday morning. Just finished raining. I walked around. Nothing but to do. I just wanted to take a photo of something interesting. Some of you are not restless enough in your 20s and 30s, but you need to be. Because everything you acquire at that time is a learning. Very important. All your years from when you were in your formative years to your teenage years to this time where developmental stages towards that prime. So you really should have started picking up a camera early enough, with or without support. With or without support. Early 20s, early 30s is okay to borrow people's equipment. Okay, no shame. Borrow it. Borrow it. Tell them you wash their car if they will allow you use their camera. That is the adversity for you to venture. Some of you want to be able to buy your camera. You can't buy your camera. It doesn't mean your life is unusual. You are a regular 20-something-year-old. Adversity that makes you have a sense of adventure. There is no adventure if there's no resistance, if there's no obstacle to overcome. So it makes you think, how can I get this guy's camera? Do you need me to wash your car every day so I can use your camera during the weekend? Do I need to sleep less? I always tell the story of a young lady who's running a printing press right now. Doing pretty well. But she once told me how she was able to develop her design skills. She said her neighbor had a laptop, goes to work every day, comes back at night. And she told him, I would like to use this your laptop. At least I know you don't use it while you're sleeping. So between the hours of 11 and 5 a.m., let me use it. Strength. She could stay awake. When you get to that next stage of your life, that becomes very hard. Very hard. And she learned that skill, which is helping her right now as a printer. She's not working as a graphic designer, she's doing printing. But that knowledge is helping her. The prime of your physical essence, 20s to 30s, use it to venture into things even when there's adversity. That's what it's called. That's what it's called, the adventure. Use your strength for it. You can withstand it. Use your strength for it. If you start a business today, you can go into another one. You can. Very possible. Not everybody you talk to the first time should you ask out because you had an interesting conversation. Talk to somebody else. Give your time to talk to people. Talk to somebody else. You're at the prime of your physicality. That's why I feel a lot of sympathy for young ladies, 15, 16, forced into marriage, somebody. They're not even the prime of their attractive nature yet. and someone has come to pluck you up, then you get there and you're like, see how beautiful I am. And I had no choice in choosing who should get this beauty. Because at 15, you're still insecure. So when someone goes, oh, thank God somebody likes me, then you now blossom into the height of your beauty. And you're like, wow, I'm such a treasure. I should have a choice in who gets this treasure. Then there's the second prime of a person's life, which is the prime of your intellect. The prime of your intellect. The prime of your emotions. This is normally experienced between the ages of 40 or let's say 35. Remember, give or take, but let's say 40 to 60. So you can go as low as 35. Some people as early as 35, a lot of women get to the prime of their intellect and emotions. 35. Men reach that a little bit slower. 35 to 60 or 65. Prime. Your mind starts working in a way you never knew your mind could work. That's why a lot of people tell you a fool at 40 is a fool forever. If your mind has not woken up at 40, there's something up. You should think different by the time you approach or arrive at 40. That's the greatest treasure you have. Your strength would decline for most people. Some people, it doesn't decline as much, but your strength would decline. You will need that gift of sleep more than you thought you needed it in your 20s. But your mind will be as sharp as can be. And do you know why you sleep more? Because your mind is working more. A lot of people don't understand that it's not physical exertion that tires us out the most, it's mental exertion. So when you're 40 and you say, I need to sleep more, don't think you are getting weaker. Your mind is working more. That's the truth. Your mind needs to recharge. Sleep recharges the mind more than the body. So don't worry too much for a 20-year-old that doesn't sleep as much. Worry much for someone that is approaching 40 or is in their 40s or 50s that doesn't sleep. Because the being is being drained. So drained. This is where sicknesses come from. Not from physical exertion, not from physical exertion. The human body is a wonderful thing. You don't know what you can take physically. But that invisible mental thing is what drains us the most. What should you do at the prime of your intellect? When your mind is strongest, what do you do? This is where you begin to share and teach. You share and you teach. This is what you should do. You share and teach. What's on your mind? You need to share it. If you don't share it, you begin to have headaches. Have you ever met somebody who is approaching their 30 and you say they have disturbing headaches? It's not particularly it's not the stress of life. It's not Nigeria. It's the thoughts that you're not allowing to come out of you. Some of us approaching our 40s are still very selfish with our thoughts. Very selfish. You are engorged with thoughts. That's where those headaches are coming from. Those headaches that you are going to the doctor every time. They're telling you your blood pressure. It's the pressure in your head that you're not sharing. A lot of you are not sharing because you're still at the stage where you believe everything should be exchange of money. In fact, exchange of money is not a key factor in any of these prime stages of your life. Anyone I'm going to talk about. Exchange of money can be something that destroys you at every prime of your life. I see 20 to 30-year-olds. They are not exerting themselves at a job, not engaging themselves because they need money. If they are not paying me, I won't do it. But you have the energy, wasting energy. If he doesn't have money as a woman, I won't talk to him. You're wasting your beauty. Wasting your beauty. Not interacting with people. Doesn't have money, can't take me out. Can't take me out. At the height of your physicality. That's a waste. And the same thing with the 40-year-old. Still saying, I won't share till they register for this course. I wouldn't share till they pay for this. I'm not saying it's bad, but when every expression is a paid one, you are a prostitute, an intellectual prostitute. When every physical expression of hanging out with somebody is paid for, you are a prostitute, you are an escort. You can be prostitutes on different levels. Some of us are spiritual prostitutes. You have spiritual insight. You cannot share it till somebody pays for something. You're a prostitute. That's the reality. But what I'm trying to say is that when you reach the prime of your intellect, you share. You share. Share every day. Start a blog. Start a YouTube channel. Those are the people that have more to do with YouTube channeling and blogging than ever, and vlogging. But you don't see a lot of them doing it. You see the 20-year-old doing it. But 20-year-old hasn't learned a lot. These 20-year-olds that are blogging and vlogging today, when they become 40, they will see their content and they will want to delete it. They will cringe at what they said. Because they are not meant to commit to anything yet. So some of you are committed to one opinion, in one content, that will come back and haunt you in your 40s. And be like, why did I go out and say this thing? So even when you take it down, people have saved it. You're still venturing. But the people that are meant to be doing it, using that social media, vlogging, podcasting, sharing experience, they're not saying anything. They're working in someone's office, rising up the ladder, saying, I'm now a manager. They're not sharing. They're still taking orders. You know, orders become a very hard thing to take when you're in your 40s. It becomes very hard. I realized this when I became 40. I realized I was a very collaborative designer, working with clients and just listening to what they wanted. But when I became 40, I became highly opinionated. And I was trying to fight it. But this is who you are. You are forming opinions in your head and they make sense. So you don't have time for nonsense anymore. Even if it's for diplomacy's sake. So I didn't have time for clients that told me nonsense. When I became 40, I was just refunding money anyhow. You tell me too much. I don't like this. Let's try blue. I tell you blue doesn't work. No, take your money back. A lot of projects just started to fall through. I didn't have time for nonsense. Because I was at the height of my intellectualism. I knew what I was thinking made sense. There was no need of the back and forth. Just for the sake of options. I didn't have time for that. But I had time for it when I was in my 20s. Okay, let's try it out. Then we'll try it out. It doesn't work. You see, it doesn't work. I told you I didn't have time for that in my 40s. Why should I? So a lot of things we see as flaws are not flaws. You just reached a different stage in your life. You are beginning to approach that stage. The person asking me this question. In your early 30s, you still have time to be adventurous, but you must take it very seriously because you're approaching your 40s. You're a young man, well, you can still, that intellectualism will not begin to bother you till maybe you're 38 or so. If you're a young woman, I told you, you need to get on with it very soon. It's going to bother you that you're not using your mind enough. But men, I realize, it doesn't bother them as much till they get to 38, 39, a lot of people 40, begins to bother them that are not using their minds enough, that are not sharing enough. you must begin to share. Some people say, but I've not become successful. Why am I sharing? Why would they listen to you? I've not achieved anything. What am I sharing? What have I achieved that I'm sharing? That not achieving in itself is something worth sharing. That's the time you can start saying what I should have done. People don't understand that content is not only about what you've achieved, but sometimes what you failed at. A lot of times that's the most meaningful content. Not all the how I built, but how I broke, how I failed. That does more to help people than how I built. So a lot of times it's not what you achieved. Sometimes it's what you missed out on that you start sharing. You can intellectualize and say, I should have done this better in my 20s. A lot of what I share on my podcast is intellectualization of things I missed out on, things I dropped the ball on. There's so much gold in that. So much gold. It's a time to teach and to share. Very important to teach and to share. And then you get to this point in your life where you reach the prime of your experience. This is where you get to your 60s, 70s. It's a very interesting time. However, I think in the Nigerian society, this is where people fail the most. This is the most failed aspect of people's lives. They become redundant when society needs them the most. Redundant. What do you do with your experience? You use your experience to encourage people. Because what experience means is the gift of foresight for somebody else. Experience is foresight for somebody else. I say this with a lot of disappointment in a lot of people in this stage. I'll be very honest with you. Because I'm at that stage where I need people in their 60s or 65 and above, and I don't find them. I can't find them because a lot of them retire. The concept of retirement is a very, very faulty one. We were never made as men to retire from work. It's a Greco-Roman value system to see work as a distraction. We were never made to retire from work. Once you retire from work, you begin to die as man. Once you retire from work, you begin to know God less. You might become more religious, but you become less spiritual. Work should never end in man's life. You must evolve. So a life of doing nothing, sitting back at home and waiting for things to come to you is a false, destructive life that a lot of people over 60s, in their 70s, 80s are doing. Should never be. A lot of people think the Chinese live long because they eat well. No, because they work well. If you look at the Asians, especially the Chinese, they work to old age, not because they want money, but they realize that work is a spiritual experience. Very important. You might not do hard physical work, and I don't advise anybody outside of their 20s and 30s to do hard, demandingly physical work. You can't. But then you must open your doors in your 70s and 80s and advertise for people to come to you freely. Don't wait for them to come. A lot of them tell you, well, they don't come to ask for advice. You give the advice. You shout the advice. You make the advice known. Should never be secretive. You don't wait for them to come. You invade people's life, intervene with advice, interfere with advice, with encouragements. You interfere. This generation of people at the prime of their experience are too quiet. And I don't understand whether it's malicious quietness or ignorant silent. But it's sickening. I've hardly had somebody in their 60s, 70s reach out to me and say, Tola, let's meet together. Let me give you some advice. Let me encourage you. I hardly have encouragement from them. There are very few. I can count with my hands those people that encourage me from the 60s and 70s and 80s. Hardly encourage. I thank God for my parents. I'm blessed to have parents that listen. My parents tell me every time, I love your podcast. They don't understand how much that thing builds me up. The first day they told me, sometimes I hear them listening to it, give feedback. Such a blessing. I can imagine if I didn't have them. But for every one person who is in their prime of the experience that has encouraged, I have about 100 people at the prime of their physicality trying to encourage. That is what it means for God to pick up stones when men won't do the work. I'm so grateful for that generation of people, those young people. They are heroes to me. Because if the right people won't do the work, God is raising up stones. A lot of what the people that should be encouraging are doing is criticizing and trying to leave. A lot of them more concerned about their pension. See this thing about money acquisition, money. Let me sort out my pension first. And they are about using their foresight for somebody else. You are meant to deliver someone else's foresight to them. You are too concerned about your own future. It's wrong. It's wrong. When you reach the height of your experience, you use it to encourage people that will get disillusioned on the way. And tell them, I see where you're going. Go this way. Stay. Come to me anytime you need. Anytime. A lot of times what people need from you is not your money. Sometimes it's just to say, I see you. What you're doing makes sense. Don't give up. Oh, there's nothing sweeter than finding somebody that is advanced in age telling you, this is good. I can guarantee you nothing sweeter than that. Nothing. But a lot of them don't say anything. I pray never to become that kind of elder. Never to become that kind of elder that only criticizes or keeps quiet, whose voice you only hear when it's time to correct, but you never hear when it's time to compliment. An elder can say, from my experience, I missed it, but you are getting it. Keep on. We are all going to come to that stage in our lives. Your experience is not to be hidden. It's to be advertised. It's to be laid out in front of your house. That people know you can come and get it there. We must use the prime of our lives well. Very important. So in addressing this question, I'll just tell this person, look, when you approach your 40s, start to teach. Start to share. You can still run your company, but allow the younger people to do the work. Allow them to work. Allow them to express themselves. Allow them to express themselves. Allow them to bring new ideas. Allow them. Allow them. Don't restrict them too much. Touch and go. Don't spend too much time in the office either. Get a platform where you can dump your thoughts and dump your thoughts and dump your thoughts. It might cost you a pay cut, but it will give you a fulfillment rise or raise. A pay cut, but a fulfillment raise. For the 20-year-old listening, 20, 30-year-old, adventure. If there's anything you get away from this podcast, adventure. If you want to think about it in another way, hard venture. Hard, but venture. You are strong. You can take it. It's hard, but venture. Very important. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Things are not meant to be perfect. For a 20-something-year-old to 30-year-old, not meant to be perfect. You are meant to need money. You are meant to. It builds you. A butterfly is meant to struggle out of its cocoon so that its wings can become strong. So that when it flies as a butterfly, the wind doesn't distort the flight. Stop hoping for a soft life. Soft life is a cursed life. It's a cursed life. Soft life? God doesn't promise us a soft life. Challenges refine us. They make us better people. They make us stronger. They make us wiser. They make us kinder. This is very important. Know what prime of your life you are approaching or you are at, and lean into it. Don't let the need for money distract you. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and this is the TA Podcast.